Hello, and welcome to episode 132 of Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry, and today we're talking about the power of a whole command central. We are in the middle of week 2 of our 4 weeks to finish program, and I want to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing in there, what we've been learning and experiencing, some of the aha moments. So for those of you who are following along at home or perhaps thinking about joining us in the future, you can kind of get a feel for what we're doing. And you can also start to get more clarity on your own command central. So I'm happy to be with you. Thank you so much. And everything we talk about today will be at learndobecome.com/episode 132. Years ago, when I first read David Allen's book called Getting Things Done, I was amazed at how every idea, paper, project, etc. had a final spot to land inside the system he described. Up until that point, I felt like there was a never-ending line of piles that I had to create to hold everything in my head and everything in my life. And finding a way to actually put a cap on that and make it feel doable changed my life. Now, for those of you who maybe are new here, when I was growing up, I didn't have a system like this. My mom and dad didn't have a system like this. And my mom just had boxes and boxes of papers, and she'd bring them from her bedroom to the living room and then back to her bedroom if we had people over. And I just grew up thinking boxes and piles and overwhelm was just how you lived. And I was craving something different because it felt extremely overwhelming to me as I moved into adulthood and motherhood and all of that. So since that point that I read David Allen's book and started learning how to create a system, I've been teaching people around the globe how to build what I call a step command central. Now, I've adapted this command central from what I learned from David Allen, and then I've been ringing the command central bell for more than a decade because I truly believe if there were a command central on every desk, the world would be transformed. Can you imagine a world where no one has to look for a piece of paper or a digital file? No one's scrolling through emails. No one's procrastinating. No one's feeling like, oh, I just can't do it. It would be amazing, right? Now, the first 2 weeks of our 4 weeks to finish program have been pretty intense, but our community and our team have been absolute champs. I'm actually waking up in the morning feeling excited. I can't wait to go in and see what people are posting and sharing. The reports I'm getting from our team members as they're doing office hours and coaching, it's really, really good. And I'm excited for all of us. There's a lot of newness going on though. Like our members are learning how to actually build each part of the command central and then make all the parts work together. And our team has been learning how to best support our members in ways that bring immediate results and relief, but also sets our members up for long-term sustained success. This is not a flash in the pan kind of thing. This is something that's going to actually propel them forward and they can use the system for the rest of their lives. So that's our focus. But I'm also having so much fun right now because now that we did the first initial parts of the command central, and I shared that in the report last week, but now we're doing the full command central, the whole thing, and now things are starting to click. So now I'm seeing people say, oh my gosh, it's all making sense. That's what I love. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an update from the class, what we talked about, what we did, what the homework assignments are, so you can get a feel for that, and hopefully you can start doing some of that in your own home. And then I'm just going to share some personal things behind the scenes. Okay, so when we first started the class, I started with a review of what they learned the previous week, and then I explained, okay, here's where I want you to be at this point. First, you have a current projects list, paper or digital, 1 to 8 projects, depending on the load that you have. And I want them posted, or at least front and center somewhere, and I want it feeling great. Second, you have a context-based next actions list, either paper or digital, that has a maximum of 7 contexts. That's like at home, computer, errands to discuss, that type of thing. Basically, a context is where your body is at that time. And you have that list populated with a very short list of tasks that will move your life and projects forward that week. So we want a very focused, very short next actions list. And the next actions can either be supporting the current projects or they can be one-off tasks, like I gotta run to the pharmacy, run a quick errand. Third, you have one calendar with your appointments and date-specific tasks, and it's open enough that you actually want to look at it. This is really the rule for every part of the Command Central. If you don't want to look at it because it feels overwhelming, you just didn't build it optimally. Fourth, you have a basic routines list with the core routines you need to do daily, weekly, monthly, etc. And you have them posted or like front and center, easily accessible. We've noticed a difference between like my dream routines, which could be 30 hours a day of things I want to do, and then core routines like this is what's necessary to sustain life and sustain just that basic equilibrium, like laundry and groceries and bill paying and taking out the trash. Just making sure you distinguish, because sometimes people have been creating these super long routines list and then they feel sick when they look at it, and that's not what we want. And then finally, you have a mind sweep that we worked on during the class, and that's what we're working on throughout this week. So that's the overview of kind of the homework up to that point and where we wanted people to be. A lot of people were there. Some people weren't. Homework's still kind of coming in. It's okay. They've got time. But that's where we were when we jumped into class 2. Then I had 2 goals for class 2. Goal number 1 was to teach them how to build the rest of the Command Central and give enough instruction that as they went to the support links, they would feel really good. And then second, I want to go through the 8 processing questions and start showing them how the processing works with literally every item, piece of paper, email, project, anything on your mind. So I'm going to go over the 3 homework assignments and then give you a little more information and links and show you how you can get support there. And then I'm going to jump into, I guess, some more personal things towards the end. Here are the 3 homework assignments. Assignment number 1, build each additional part of your STEP Command Central in a very basic way. That includes your capture tool, inbox, waiting list, goals section, read and review basket, initial filing cabinet, support materials, tickler, someday, and incubation. And if you're thinking, April, that is such a long list, what are you doing? Okay, first of all, they're all listed on the show notes if you want to go through each one. Also, I have several podcasts where I've walked through what a full Command Central is, and you can get more information. We even have videos that go into it. I've got a video tour that's like 1 minute long on YouTube. So deep breath. But the thing is, the reason why there's so many pieces is because once you build it, this lasts for the rest of your life and it holds everything. It's kind of like if you wanted to build a car and I'm saying, okay, you need to have an engine and you need to have tires and you need to have, and I'm listing all the things like the rotors and the brake pads, and you're thinking, April, why are there so many pieces to this car? Well, because it's going to drive you around and help you go way faster and with way more comfort than ever before. You don't have to keep walking around anymore. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces, but it's complete and it's finite, and then it helps your brain rest. So I think it's worth learning all of these if you actually want to have a calm mind. If you can have a calm mind without these things, then fine, you don't need it. But most people don't have a calm mind. Most people do have piles, and it's because they don't have these things. So anyway, I'm going to be pretty insistent on that, but that was a homework assignment. Build the rest of this. Second assignment, process your mind sweep into the Command Central using the flowchart and 8 questions provided inside the STEP program. We have printables. We have it all set up. If you're in self-study or mastery, all of that's in your Getting Started section. Or even the STEP starter, we have a flowchart, some of these basics for you. And then assignment number 3, keep up the habits you started in week 1, referring to your calendar, next actions list, and routines list. So I'll go into detail a little bit on these assignments so you can get more of a feel for it. First, let's just go briefly through all the parts of the Command Central that need to be built this week. I went into detail on many of the parts last week, so you can listen to that one if you want. The podcast will be linked on the show notes page, or you can, or if you're listening to your podcast, go to episode 131. Okay, so first, what's a capture tool? That's just something that you have with you during the day to write down anything that comes into your mind. David Allen taught me this in Getting Things Done. You could have a little index card. You could email yourself voice memos. Some people have found apps where it's like just record or start recording. I don't know, something like that, where you just like click one button and then you can record something and it transcribes it for you and saves it for you. Basically, you need an inbox while you're out, a little satellite inbox. For me, I use my paper planner. On the right side, it's just a blank page and I take notes and ideas. Anything I need to process before the end of that day goes there. But you need somewhere to capture information, because otherwise you're out and about and you think, oh yeah, I need to buy some new air filters for our, heating system, air conditioning system. Or, oh yeah, I told so-and-so I'd send them that report and I'd email it to them and I didn't yet. where are you going to write that? Don't try to remember it because you're just going to hold it in your head and then you're going to be all stressed out and then you're going to forget about it and then you're going to feel bad. So everything needs to be in the system. We don't use our heads anymore to hold all that information because it's just too much. All right, next is an inbox. That's actually a box that you keep near your command central where you put things that you are going to process during your weekly review. If it can't wait till your weekly review that you have scheduled, then you do it before you put it in the inbox. Don't put it in the inbox. The inbox is for things that can't be done in 2 minutes or less and can wait until your weekly review. So a lot of people just go get an inbox. Paper tray, those are plentiful. Any office supply store. Okay, super simple. Next is your waiting list. This can be a folder with a little list inside. I think the best way to explain it, it's where you put lists of things that you need to at least check up on weekly, where you're waiting for someone else to do something. So if you delegated and then someone said, oh yeah, I'll do that, or I'll get back to you, and you're like, I can't move forward until they do that, you put it in your waiting list. If there's a paper or a document, that's where you put it. Or you could create a list there. If, let's say you're running a team, there's someone in our program who's running a team, has several people that they work with that they're, have a stewardship over. So they're going to have a little section of their waiting list for each person. Here's what you said you were going to do. How's it going, right? And if any of those things have an expiration date, well, I've got to get it by next Thursday, then you have a calendar trigger for that. All right, next is the goals section. We just need a place to keep track of all of our goals. I have a folder. I keep it in my cubby for my personal development, and I record goals. I put my brainstorms, my visions, all those things on there. Sometimes if they're like my special ones I want to look at on a regular basis, I take a picture of them. I have inside Evernote, that's what I use. I have a goal sheet, something that I use regularly. Up to you how you want to do it. But the point is that you need somewhere to just write down your goals, your dreams, your hopes for yourself, what you want for your life. Next is your read and review basket. You can obviously have a digital folder of things to read and review. That could be things like ebooks you download for free from a website, or instruction manuals for your new camera or whatever. I have an actual basket. Sometimes we have, a couple read and review locations, but I have a basket where I keep current magazines, catalogs, things that I want to look through when I have time. We keep it in the kitchen. It's pretty simple. You can keep it in the bathroom if you have reading time in the bathroom. And you're like, hey, I can read through this PTA newsletter, or I can go through the grocery ads, or, whatever. Next is an initial filing cabinet. Now, we even just recommended start with even just a banker's box, something where you can file. Most things can be digitized. I rarely keep things now. That's why I use Evernote so often, because it's like my digital filing cabinet. I also recommend freedomfiler.com because they're just amazing, and people in the 4 Weeks to Finish program have already started buying their Freedom Filers. They're so excited. It's just set up in such a great way, and they even can send you the folders already ready with the labels on them, or you can just buy the labels. Or in our STEP program, we have an ebook where we explain how it works, so you could just create your own out of file folders. I just think Freedom Filer does a good job. Color coding, the printing is great, the quality is great. And they just teach you how to file in a way that makes filing not even an issue anymore. So good. All right. Next is your support materials. This is an aha moment for a lot of people. I'm going to share one in a couple minutes. You need a place to keep all of your items related to a project. So right now I'm helping a friend with a pretty big project. And there's a lot of papers. She's mailing me a packet of papers. I've printed off some things online. I'm going to be taking my own notes. And all of those things need to be kept together. So when I want to work on it, I'm not going all over the place looking for it. If you've seen any of my pictures of my Command Central, or if you want to do the video walkthrough, you can see I use cubbies. And I like those because then I can just tell each cubby has a category. And then there's multiple folders inside the category. Like I have a category for children, and I have a folder for each child and one for our dog, Sunny. So 5 folders inside a cubby. It's a children cubby. I have a Learn to Become cubby, and I have things like one for STEP, and one for Arise, and one for branding, and one for marketing ideas, and one for education. So I keep subfolders inside. And then I have a digital comparable file structure in Evernote. and I also have it in Google Drive. So depending on the kind of file, if I'm sharing it with our team or if it's a Google Sheet or something like that, versus Evernote, which is more photos and more personal stuff. So support materials are really important because it helps you to immediately get to work on a project and not procrastinate because you can't find all the stuff associated with it. And then next is your tickler. We've talked about the tickler a lot. People are like, why do you call it that? It's supposed to be like it tickles your memory, essentially. I do mine a little bit different than David Allen recommends doing his. I just use 12 folders, and it's one per month. If there's anything paper or like a ticket or a printout or a card or something that you need on a certain date, I have the tickler file referenced on my calendar to remind me to go get that thing and take it with me. So it's like mailing yourself something. Some people use one folder, some people use, 4, so they're quarterly, but a tickler is awesome. Someday I use a magazine holder for that, and it's basically, and I have a folder inside there. It's holding things that I want to do someday, but today's not the day. So I keep my dreams and the things I love, and someday is full of all my best dreams and choices that I say, yes, I want these in my life. There's no way I'm going to get to all of them in my lifetime because there's more ideas that I can do. But it's okay. If I'm ever bored, I have a place to go and I have all these great ideas. And then finally is the incubation. And I think of that as one step above the trash or recycle bin. Someone gives me a brochure, a piece of paper, a business card. I got these things. I'm like, oh, do I need to keep this or not? I don't know. And so I put it in incubation, so it's not in the trash or recycle bin in case I need it. But typically, it's like a black hole for me. And every time I go clean it out, maybe every 6 months or so, and 99.999% of it just goes in the recycle bin. But it makes my brain feel better to know, hang on, I got it here just in case anyone asks me about it. I'm not going to stress out. So that's it. Okay, so that's what we asked everyone to build, and we really encouraged our community to build paper first so they could learn the process. Unless you already feel really comfortable with tech, or you already have Asana going, or you've already got, Evernote or a digital calendar or whatever, what we're finding is a lot of people say, well, I want to do it right from the beginning and teach me Asana and teach me Evernote. And that was getting really stressful because we're like, that's a great thing to have, but it's not necessary to have your mind calm. So we had to go back and say, let's remember what finished means. It means you've got a command central in place, your mind is calm, you know how to process, you know how to do projects and weekly reviews. It does not mean you're an expert on using different apps and digital tools. So that's something I want you to think about in your own life. If you're ever thinking, oh, I can't get organized until I learn how to use Asana or how to learn, Bootcamp or Trello or whatever, not true. So please don't use that as an excuse because it's just going to stop you. But once you learn how to organize your brain, how to process things, then you're going to be fine. And then you can use a digital tool. I started with 100% paper because I didn't know what those tools were and I didn't even have a laptop at the time. So, because that was way back when. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the homework assignment 2. Processing your mind sweep into the command central using the flowchart or 8 questions. I actually have a whole podcast where I walked through the 8 questions, so I'm going to link that on the show notes page here. Essentially what the 8 questions do is it helps you to look at a piece of paper or look at an idea or look at something that's stressing you out and just ask, like, is it actionable? Is this a routine? Is this a project? Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? Like, what are we doing with this? And then the final 2 questions of the 8 are, well, when will I review this? Like, in my system with my habits, when am I actually going to review it? Because your brain needs to know, I'm not sticking it in a folder that's just going to be there for 10 years because that stresses you out. You need to know, hang on, I'm putting this on my current projects list and I'm going to see it because it's posted every day and every week as I update, I'm going to be able to see it. And every month as I redo my list, I'm going to see it. So I'm not going to lose it. Your brain needs to know I'm not going to lose it. And then the 8th question is, when will I do it? And you need to know, okay, well, I have project time scheduled every day and I will look at my projects list and then I will work on it. Or it's going to be on my errands list. And when I'm out running errands, I'm going to look at that list and I'm going to do it when I have time and energy to do it, right? So the idea is that when your brain can take any paper, project, task, email, text message, whatever, and then process it, and know it's safe and know you're actually going to do it at the appropriate time, then your brain can rest. And it feels so good. All right, so after we went through all the parts of the Command Central, we worked on processing, then we had a Q&A for a little over an hour. I can't tell you how much I love this community. We've been running Learn to Become for nearly 7 years, and I've been working online since 2007. And while I've done lots of Facebook Lives and Zoom calls and webinars and videos and podcasts and things, it's all mostly been one way, and then we have chat and comments. So I've seen people's profile pictures on Facebook, or, I've seen photos people have posted in the program. And some people have sent their photos to me so I can hang them here in my podcast room or have them here to be able to look at them, which is awesome. But getting to actually talk back and forth on a video call, it's still so amazing to me. And the questions were so good. And I think for a long time, I've been very afraid of engaging with our community on a personal level because I felt like I was going to let people down, or if I could actually see people and they could see me, that maybe they would be disappointed with me. Or I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I was afraid of. But I just felt really nervous. And now I don't. Now I actually love these calls. And then when we did our Arise call for our membership, I thought, hey, Eric, do you want to have our Arisers be on video too? Because this is so fun. I'm actually looking forward to this. Because then we can all see each other and there's just a difference. Anyway, I really like it. So that's been more joyful than I even anticipated. I was really excited about that. All right, now I just want to share a few stories from the week that I think will help you. These are 3 stories, and I'm going to share them anonymously, but they were just posted inside our 4 Weeks to Finish group. And man, I'm so impressed. And I'm going to post some photos too. I got some permission from people who are posting pictures of their Command Central, so I'm going to share that. Okay, so this first one is about the CBNAL. And if you're thinking, what is a CBNAL? Okay, it's the Context-Based Next Actions List. That's just the abbreviation. So next actions means they're very short, 10 minutes or less, very simple. Context-based means things like it's a phone call or errand or computer task or to discuss or something like that. Okay, so here's what this person wrote. Just rewrote my CBNAL midweek. It was getting a little messy and actually feels good to know things are moving off of it as I go through the week. So today, headed out to run a few errands and know that the UPS drop is already in the car. The return at Dick's Sporting Goods has the receipt inside the bag, and the mailbox keys are in the car. And then she wrote, Funny though, there were some things not yet done from my CBNAL that I had to transfer to my new one. And April was in my head a little bit. Why is this one still on here? Yes, the one that she wrote called Spend 15 Minutes on Taxes may be a little too broad. I put a little star next to it when I transferred it just as a reminder that this has been on here a while. And then I thought, what really is the next one small action I can take here? Pull out the bin of 2020 taxes from the closet. Okay, here we go. I get it. This made me so happy. First of all, I'm laughing because I know I'm in people's heads. People will say, like, I was going to make my closet perfect and make sure everything had the right, hangers and I got the upgraded bins or whatever. And then April's in my head saying, just move forward. Don't make it perfect. Anyway, so if I'm in your head sometimes, thank you for welcoming me in there. And I hope that I am helpful. The next story is about support cubbies. So remember I talked about those. It supports things for your ongoing projects. It also supports things for routines. So this person said, the aha moment for me with this week's homework is this. The current project resource material folder/cubby. Where have you been all my life? When I realize this is the paper/item involving something on my current projects list, I can just put it in that folder and easily grab it when I'm working on that project, i.e. all the notes about leaving my job situation. This seems so simple now as I type this, but this is what always stayed in the piles. And then I procrastinated on doing the thing because that involved finding the form, then got stuck and repeat and felt defeated. And the other things for future projects go in the someday project resource area. How simple is that? Okay, is this not so awesome? I am having the best time watching these aha moments. So good. All right, here's the third one. Things no longer slipping through the cracks. This one's really sweet. You guys, I am almost in tears right now. As I am committing to this process, I am taking each piece of paper on my desk and asking the 8 questions. Here are some of the things I have found so far that have slipped through the cracks. 1, a canceled auto insurance policy. 2, intent to levy letters along with late fees for tax payments for 2 of my companies. 3, notice of suspension for missing my deadline to file with the Secretary of State. 4, an actual suspension of company with Secretary of State for failing to file. I am so emotional because I can't believe I have let these things happen, but also because I am finding a solution, and solution is in all caps, so that it won't happen in the future. My head is lifting from the clouds of learning it all, and I'm feeling a little more clear on how to spend my time when at my desk, too. Stick with it, everyone. Now, that was really powerful because I know all of us have experienced something where you've missed an email or you've missed a piece of paper or you've missed some deadline, and you have that sinking feeling, that pit in your stomach and thinking, oh man, darn it. And you can either stay in that sinking feeling or you can continue to just throw mail away or not check the mail or ignore your desk because you're like, I don't even know what's in there. I don't even want to discover it. Or you start lifting your head above the clouds and finding a solution so you know you're protected and that won't happen again. I am so proud of our members because it takes courage to face it. I'm not going to lie. It takes courage. When you dive into some mess and you know there's something in there that's not pretty, it's not enticing. Yeah, I'd rather, go eat chocolate, go watch a show. But, when you're trying to eat chocolate and watch a show and you have this little nagging feeling in the back thinking, oh man, I'm behind on this. This is going to cost more. I'm really delaying that. I'm making a bigger problem. That doesn't feel good. It feels amazing to be able to rest when everything is safe. And that's what I want for you. Okay, I'm going to share a couple of more stories and then we'll close up. But are you feeling the energy? Are you feeling how exciting this can be for you and for your family and your posterity and your community? It's pretty amazing. The first story I want to share is about the identity shift that we've been talking about that happens when you start to get organized. So someone posted yesterday, the weirdest thing happened to me today. My command central miraculously came together. The concepts started clicking, and I was able to clear my desk and put things in places where I was actually able to find them later on. I have projects, routines, and next actions all set up in Asana. I'm learning how to use reminders to log my appointments that I schedule for our business, and I have 8 a.m. meetings every day scheduled with my awesome accountability partner. That's one of the other bonuses we have going on in 4 Weeks to Finished. Instead of feeling elated, however, I was legit scared with a pit in the center of my chest. Kind of like the body snatchers came and took the old me and replaced her with a new bionic version of me. Who am I? Like, seriously. Okay, when I read this, I had to comment right away. I think it was something like 10:30 at night when I commented because I thought, okay, I gotta share because I know what this is and I've been there and I want to share it with you. So here's what I wrote. So proud of you, and what you are experiencing is really normal, but still hard. The scientific explanation, which I have thoroughly studied because this happens to me too, is that your body is used to the chemicals related to anxiety and disorganization and wondering where things are. Now your brain says, wait, I don't have to worry about that anymore. But your body isn't sure what chemicals to produce or how to stay in homeostasis. Does that make sense? The best thing is to start visualizing the new you, the calm, organized, confident, peaceful person you have wanted to be, and start welcoming that version of you into reality. And I know it sounds so weird, but I promise it works. You are literally changing your identity, not just psychologically, but chemically. It's a serious identity shift, and most people aren't brave enough to go there. Congratulations. And then she replied and said, April, this is fascinating and makes so much sense. It was definitely a chemical reaction I was experiencing, and I've always been well aware of the interplay between my behaviors and my physiological responses, but I just couldn't figure out that feeling yesterday. Wow, just wow. Thank you. So I just wanted to share that because even as you're going through our free resources at Learn to Become or any of our programs, or even just not the Learn to Become programs, other things you're doing, you might start to feel some panic or some strange things you've never felt before. Back, I don't even know, it was in the early days of Learn to Become. And I had never invested in myself heavily. I had always just used free resources. I never spent any money on really anything because I just felt like I needed to protect my family and I didn't want to spend money. And so Eric and I were talking, and there was an opportunity to join this group of entrepreneurs with a high-level coaching program. And I think it was like $2,000 for the program. And I'd never spent that much on something for me. So we bought the program. And the next morning I woke up and my heart was beating fast and I felt so much anxiety. And I wanted to do the program and I was excited about it and we could afford it. We had the money to do it. But I just remember saying, Eric, I'm feeling panicked. And what was happening is in my mind, I was not believing yet that I was worth that. And I was worried about stepping into that level of entrepreneurship and saying, I'm an entrepreneur. That just felt very, very scary to me. So I had to start learning how to think of myself as someone who is an entrepreneur, as someone who deserves to be able to invest in myself wisely, of course. And there's been a lot of growth since then. Now, we've spent a lot of money on coaching and, groups and programs and all kinds of stuff to this point wisely. I've used all of them. I've gained so much wisdom and ROI on all of them. It's been awesome. But even now, I feel like I'm just getting started, to be honest. I feel like I was talking to one of my coaches the other day, and I said, I feel like I am now to a point where I've been doing this for over a decade. I know what I'm doing. I know I can help people. I'm very clear on my boundaries, and I'm very clear on what I want to create, but I'm super excited. So just as you are moving forward, I want you to know if you're starting to feel uncomfortable, like you clean a drawer, or you clean up your nightstand, or you clean up your bathroom, or you clean up your desk, and then you think, oh my gosh, I'm not the kind of person who has a clean bathroom. Yes, you are. You are now, okay? It's going to be awesome. All right, the next one I just want to share, it's just going to be part of it. I asked one of our members if I could share her photo of her Command Central. She was so awesome. And she's like, sure, of course you can use it. This has been so helpful. And then she writes me this super awesome post about how her life has been changing. And one of the awesome things is she even said, my husband has noticed the difference over the years. He's noticed this is a program I've continued to stick with. And then there was something about where she said something like he even complimented me on how I was helping to make the home run so smoothly. Yeah, he said he complimented me just yesterday for making our household run so much smoother. I mean, so great, right? She also shared that our son asked me if I would mind spending some time helping him to organize his room and his space. We're doing that this afternoon. That's a first. Obviously, he sees me as capable of helping him. Wow. Okay, so that just made me happy to begin with. But then she said, I'm telling you this for a couple of reasons. And she describes, one, I know it's your desire to live out your purpose and help people. And then she said something really, really interesting. She said, I've been reading some of the posts where people are expressing frustration that things aren't falling into place quicker. Some are expressing frustration at you and the team. And I've wondered if it's because they're not seeing this as a process that takes time, and everyone's timetable is unique to them and their circumstances. Because she'd shared her circumstances when she'd tried doing this a few years ago. There's a lot going on in her life where there had been some health issues with family members and having a lot of people around the house and stuff like that. Anyway, I just want to share those thoughts because if you're ever feeling like, this isn't clicking for me, I'm not getting it fast enough, there might just be a lot going on in your head right now and in your life, and maybe you need to slow it down a bit and take a little more time. Okay, so those are the main stories I wanted to share today. And then just two more things from more of a personal level, because people who've listened this long, you guys are my friends that we're going to hang out and chat with for a second. So first I just want to talk about family balance and in doing my work. So first of all, I'm hoping to be able to clarify any expectations that you might have of me, but also I want you to be able to think about the expectations that you set for yourself. Because last time when we did the call for week 1 for 4 weeks to finished, I did the report on Friday, the very next day, and then I sent out an email to the whole community with the report and everything like that. So then I got a comment saying, hey, are you going to do week 2? Because I'm following along at home. And I'm like, yes, I am doing week 2. But I'm recording this on Tuesday. I didn't do it Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday. I did it on Tuesday. And so I want to share a little bit about how I look at the podcast, how I look at the work that I do. When there is something that is scheduled, like I do Thursday, 4 weeks to finished coaching calls. I do Arise calls once a month. I have certain things that I have, agreed to as far as programs, and people set their calendar and, they're going to be there for it. I show up for those things. The only time I've ever missed one of those was literally the day that my mom passed away, when I flew out to see her and I had to cancel a Q&A call for our STEP program. That's the only time I've ever canceled something. So I do show up when someone has calendared and they're planning to be there, as much as I possibly can. However, there's a lot of parts of life, whether it's running a business or, doing activities in your community. There's a lot of things that can be flexible, and that's where we make decisions according to our values. One of the things that really, really matters to me is creating a business that is sustainable with what I'm doing with my family, with my health, and my just overall life goals. I made the mistake when I first started working online, in that I always felt like, okay, well, once this project's finished, then I can relax with my family. But then as soon as that project ended, there was something else to do. So I was in this perpetual state of, oh, hang on a minute, once this is done, oh, once I get there, oh, once I get to that point. And I never felt like I was arrived, like I was present, like I was done. I just felt like there was always that next thing that needed me. And so if I could go back in time, I would have said, April, what are the essentials? And then how about you create something more sustainable? So you're getting enough rest, you have enough time with your family, you have enough downtime, and this is something you literally could do for the rest of your life. So the pace that I have now in our business, even though things are growing rapidly and going really well and it's super exciting, the pace that I'm moving, the pace at which I'm moving, I could sustain for the rest of my life, because I've set it up so that I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself. And I've included enough buffer where if I did get sick or needed to take a break, I would have the ability to figure that out and it wouldn't throw me. And it's possible. But the thing is, when you go to conferences or you read books or you're hearing all these people tell you how to do things, they give you a list of rules like, oh, and you must do this much on social media and this much, and your podcast has to go out like a TV show, and you have to be so scheduled and everything. And people will give you a lot of rules, but that's only if you want to live according to their values. If you have different values, then you can live according to your rules. And Eric has always believed that. And we fought on that for a long time, because I was like, no, Eric, we must have a podcast out every whatever day. And Eric's like, no, we don't. And he was right. And, and I was right. Like, yes, you have to have some consistency. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. We're not playing that game. But I just want to emphasize, as you're making decisions in your life, there is a lot of flexibility and choice that most people won't even talk about. And most people don't live that way, and most people are exhausted. One of the main reasons, I haven't shared this story publicly before because it still makes me sad, but I'm going to share it now because I want you to know, like, this is my why. This is a big part of it. So about 10 years ago, we had all 4 of our children in our home, and Spencer was 4. He's 14 now. He's the only child at home. We had a Valentine's Day dinner last night, just the 3 of us. Me and Spencer and Eric. I wanted to light candles and have it be like this awesome dinner, and Spencer and Eric were like, why are we doing this? It was just for us. I'm like, I'm not putting on social media. It's just for us. But I was in a super hungry, cranky mood, and it did not turn out that awesome. But anyway, that's kind of where we are, me and Eric and Spencer. But 10 years ago, Spencer was 4. And we were kneeling for family prayer. That's something that we do every day. So it was like morning prayer. And so it's me and Eric, our 4 kids, and we're in a little circle in our living room. And Spencer, 4 years old, he was the one saying the prayer. And I will never forget when he said, "And please bless Mom that she will have time to spend with us." And as I'm listening to my little 4-year-old praying that I would have time to spend with him, like, it hurt my heart for a lot of reasons. One, because being their mom is so important to me. 2, because I wasn't just off partying. I was trying to build a business and trying to help support the family. And they had time with Eric if they weren't with me. And, Eric and I were balancing it. But the fact was he missed me and I missed him. And I felt sad that, man, I want to be hanging out with you all the time, but we've got to pay for our house and we need food and we need, to be able to have an income, and I can't do everything. But that was when I decided I don't want to hear that again. I'm not going to tell him not to say that. I'm just going to try to live in a way where he doesn't feel that, because it's really, that's a hard thing to hear for your child to say. And in the last 10 years, I haven't heard that again. I've been able to structure things, not always perfectly, but in such a way where my family knows that they are my priority. And so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I had a lot of time spent with my family. Spencer made his first geocache. He's super excited about that. Aaliyah came into town and we went shopping together and had a little evening together running some errands. Eric and I got to go on a date night. We also got to take our other college son, Ethan, to lunch and check in with him, see how he's doing. We had time to worship at church. We had friends over. We had my sister over, my nieces. And I was still able to get some work done, a little bit on Friday and Saturday and Monday as needed. But I'm doing my best to set up my life in a way where I want to model for you what can work. There are a lot of people out there who are driving themselves insane. Their relationships are really struggling. And that's what's happening behind the scenes. But then out on social media or on their podcast or on their videos, they talk about how amazing their life is. But when you actually dig in and see, wait, what's going on? Like, what's happening in your life? How are things going? Are you sleeping at night? Do you have a lot of anxiety? What's happening? You find that their relationships aren't doing well. And it's not because they don't want their relationships to be doing well. It's just that they feel like they have so much they have to do all the time that they can't put that energy towards their family. And it's clearly a balance, and it's going to change through people's lives. But I'm just sharing this now because as I'm 3 years away from being an empty nester, and as I have worked to build businesses and work from home for nearly about 15 years now, I've learned a lot. And I've learned that I wasted a lot of time that I didn't need to spend on activities that weren't that important. Okay, I'll stop that. And then finally, just one thing I just wanted to share. And this is more of a spiritual nature. And please, if you think of God differently than I do, please don't get all stressed out. Learn to becomes for people from all backgrounds, religious or not. But I find that if I can't talk about how I feel and my connection with God, then that's actually that's so much of who I am and what fuels me. And so it's important for me to be able to speak about my own personal situation, not in a way that tells you you have to be like me, but in a way that's hopefully respectful, but gives you a little glimpse into the way I look at things. So I was listening to a presentation. It was on YouTube, and it was a woman who runs a nonprofit organization, and she helps to feed people who are either homeless or who are struggling financially. And as she's talking about her organization, she had this one line that I have not been able to get out of my head. She said, "God does not need me to feed his children. He could do that, but he allows me to participate." And when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, that is so smart. Because I believe in an omnipotent God who can do anything. God could make all my clutter go away. He could make all your clutter go away. God could have sent each of us independently. We didn't have to be in families. God could help my children make changes. He could send angels to make those changes There's a lot that God could do without me. I mean, anything. God doesn't need my help to do something. But why does God let me participate? And I was having this conversation with Spencer the other day. We were walking up to church, and I said, the other day when I was teaching you how to make grilled cheese sandwiches and we're making grilled cheese together, why did I ask you to make it with me? Because I already know how to make grilled cheese. I didn't need your help. Why did we make it together? And he was like, well, I don't know, because you want to teach me, right? You want me to know how to do it someday. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good point. But then I got to thinking about it more and more and more, and I'm like, okay, why does God let me participate here at Learn, Do, Become? Why do I get to participate by being part of a family? Why do I get to participate in helping, some of my loved ones solve some really hard problems that they're going through right now? And so just a few things I wrote down. And my point in this is that as you're thinking about building your Command Central, as you're thinking about moving forward with strengthening your family, when you ask the question, why do I get to participate in this? It puts your brain in a different place, where then you don't feel resentful, you don't feel alone, you don't feel abandoned. You actually feel really supported. And so these are just a few things I wrote down. And again, this is really personal. Please don't send me emails getting mad at me. Okay. I feel like, first of all, yes, God wants me to learn for myself. He needs me to develop these skills and abilities, just like you. God wants us to feel what it's like to work with that divine power. A lot of you have probably felt that before, where you do something and you realize that wasn't me. Like I was lifted from heaven. God wants us to have a reason to exercise our agency, to be able to use choice. Because what a blessing it is that we get to make choices and we're not just like forced to do everything perfectly. We get to choose, but we have to be able to have good and bad and different choices so that we can exercise that agency. I also believe God wants us to learn the connection between faith and miracles. I have a very strong conviction that when we exercise faith in our higher power, that miracles do happen, things that we couldn't have done ourselves. And that's happened to me over and over and over again throughout my life. I also believe God wants a chance to express love to us, because as we take that effort, even if it's something like, okay, I'm going to clean the pantry today. I'm going to go look at the calendar and make sure everyone gets where they need to be. I'm going to plan some meals, that type of thing. That you're going to feel that love and that support as you're doing it. Also, I believe that God wants a means for transferring those divine values to us. The reason why I'm so passionate about working alongside of our children, doing dishes together, making meals together, doing Saturday jobs together, walking the dog together, is because while we're doing those mundane things, we're able to create these shared values. We can talk about our character development. We can talk about the challenges going on at school. We can talk about how we give people the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of values that are transferred when you're doing things that are mundane. Also, I believe God wants to increase our confidence. Like if I came in and organized your whole house and all your tasks and all your emails for you, that would do nothing to increase your confidence. Then you'd think, well, I need April to come back and do it all over again. No, you don't. You can do this yourself. That's why I don't go into people's homes, because I want you to learn how to do it. And I want you to have the confidence knowing, hey, nothing is going to slip through the cracks ever again because I know how to manage it. And then finally, I just believe God wants us to see the difference between our limits as humans and the omnipotence of God. Like there's a big difference there, but I just know in my own work that I'm not alone in doing this. There's a lot happening behind the scenes here, things I'm praying for, things like right now, all of my siblings, we have a prayer time. We're praying for one of our siblings. There's 8 of us. And every morning we have an alarm, all of us. So we know all 8 of us are gathered in prayer at the same time. And there's something really, really powerful when you know that you rely on a divine power to help you. However you might define that. I talk about, your incubation list and your Sunday list and your support cubbies and projects. But that's not what my work here at Learn to Become is about. There's something so much bigger, and Eric and I touch on that a lot more in the Arise membership. And that's just something, as I'm thinking about this podcast and moving forward, that's what's in my heart. That's what makes me want to come sit down. I don't want to just talk about project management. I want you to be able to feel that connection with heaven, and I want you to feel that joy each day as you're doing the work. As we look at that bigger picture of why are we here? Why are we doing all this? There's this joy and peace that we start to feel when we recognize what we're becoming. I am so proud of you, and I'm grateful for you. And I will close now and we'll move on. But please know that there are wonderful things ahead for you, and I'm so glad you're here at Learn to Become. All right, links and all of that will be at learndobecome.com/episode 132. You're amazing. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.